Welcome to the Chaos Plan, where the odds may not always be in your favor. Thank you for joining us for another episode. As always, we would like to thank Adrián Sanabria for the intro music of the Chaos Plan, and the in-game music was brought to you by tabletopaudio.com. If you have any questions about what we're doing and how we come up with the rules, maps, places, anything like that, check out our website, www.theadventuringguild.com, and click on the Chaos Plan tab up at the top. This will also give rules on character creation and how you can join the show. To join, just visit our Patreon page and donate $1 a month to get in on these games. The more people we have, the more games we can run because schedules will line up better. And by joining, you are guaranteed a spot in this campaign. We will be running lots of different groups through, hopefully very soon, and since we're keeping it on an active timeline, we should be able to keep everybody managed as far as who is playing where and when. If you are unable to join but enjoy the show, please leave us a 5-star review, as that is how we will be able to get in front of more people and have more wonderful, talented people join the show. And please feel free to share any of our posts on your social media of choice. We are on Facebook and Twitter. For both of those, just search for The Adventuring Guild and we'll pop up one way or another. So thank you very much, and we hope you enjoy the show. Thank you once again for joining us for another episode of the Chaos Plan. This week we have a new individual with us who will be taking on the mantle of adventurer as Core. Core is going to be the first individual joining us who is not originally from the Elemental Island, so I am really looking forward to introducing you to a little bit of a teaser as to what is going on the quote-unquote mainland of Arcana. So go ahead and Will, tell us about your character Core.
Hey, thanks a lot, Bob. I'm happy to be here. Well, first off, Core is the homebrew race of the Hill Goliath. He is a Hexblade Warlock, but not by choice. The thing about Core is that he grew up very happy over his younger years. He spent about 18 years of his life traveling with his clan. They're a nomadic clan. They go up and over the mountains during the summer and winter on the coast, stuff like that. One day, after he married and had a child, he found his 8-year-old daughter with this glowing red crystal that was obviously enthralling her, and talked about getting souls and feeding souls to the crystal. He wrestled the crystal from her, decided that he needed to get rid of it, so he left his family. He was ambushed by bandits, so on and so forth. He can't go back to his family until he gets rid of the crystal. So that's pretty much the short, sweet, to the point version of Core. And yeah, he's got a few tattoos on him, that like magic tattoos that help him out with his stats and stuff like that. And yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it.
All right, we will go ahead and then get started. So where we are beginning, you are in the mountains. You've been wandering towards the coast. This magic crystal has been driving you for some unknown reason south, towards the town of Roseboro. You don't know 100% why it is driving you that direction, just that it is. So you are in the hills north of that area, and it's very hilly, obviously, very mountainous as you're coming down, going from steep and jagged mountains that you're used to into more rolling hills, skirting the edge in between the forest and the plains on either side of the mountain range. You approach the town. It isn't a very large town, consisting of only about 10, 12 buildings at the most, but you do know that it is famous for a very large inn. It is a very upscale, upper-class inn called the Roseboro Inn, and it caters only to the most wealthy of patrons. You would also have a small familiarity with the Ring of Brodgar there, which is kind of like a modern world Stonehenge, mysterious kind of a place.
Okay. Yeah, he probably would know a little bit of something about that.
Yeah, go ahead and roll me a history check if you want for a little bit of inside knowledge about Roseboro.
Just a quick question about Roseboro. Is this a bigger city, or is it more like village or a town?
Smaller town. Like I said, there's only about 12 buildings there, but with that very large inn, it kind of depends on how many people are there. You know, the city population will swell and stuff depending on how busy the inn is.
Right. Okay. Let me roll that real quick. That's going to be a 13 history.
Okay, a 13. You would know from either stories of different clansmen that have traded with folks from here, or possibly hearing it, stories about Roseboro, you know, along the line. You would know that there is a very strange ring of stones on the east end of town called the Ring of Brodgar that has kind of a weird feeling about it. Nobody's quite sure what it was there for, but it has always been there. You would also know that the Roseboro Inn is a very, like I said, well-to-do establishment consisting... It's one of the largest buildings that you're going to find for hundreds of miles, consisting of 3 floors with several smaller, like, towers. Not quite towers, but like a attic-type room, but with a 360-degree view, balcony kind of a thing on the top of it. And you would also know that there is a very large smithy and general store in this place. It is also the only place anywhere nearby to catch a boat going anywhere. It's one of the main ports of Arcanum.
Okay. I think Core would be really hesitant about approaching with his nomadic heritage. You know, like, they never really went to many towns. You know, like, he doesn't really approve of technology, so by and large they tended to avoid civilization unless they had to. You know, maybe they would have gone into town to get supplies they couldn't find in the wild here and there. But Core is extremely hesitant about going into town. But that being said, he does know that if he's going to find any answers about, you know, this crystal, he's probably going to have to go into civilization and talk to somebody. So I'm not really sure which way he'd be coming in from. I think he might just try and slip in as casually as he can, being a 7.5-foot Goliath. But yeah, he'll probably, after all he's been through, make his first stop at the tavern.
Okay. As you enter into town, you'd be coming in to be as non-conspicuous as possible. You kind of would have gone out of your way just a little bit and stepped onto the main road that enters the town from the west. So you enter in from the west, and as you walk along, you notice there is a smithy to the north end of town, and that very large, it's called the Roseboro Gift Shop, but it's actually a very well-stocked, large general store. You would know that the main, I guess, tavern would be within the inn itself. They do have a very large and well-stocked bar. And so you would be able to enter into the main doors of that inn, and right on the left-hand side, you would see a door opening up into a very large bar/tavern area. There is the bartender, you would hear somebody shout his name. His name would be Frederick, as one of the other patrons calls his name and kind of gestures for another ale. Frederick pours it from several large casks behind the bar before sliding it down the bar to the patron.
All right. Well, I think he's going to probably find the least crowded space on the bar, go up and order a drink, and then find a empty table to sit down and just kind of survey everything for a little bit.
Okay, yeah, you're able to get the mug of ale for 2 copper pieces, because it is a kind of an upscale establishment. It's a little bit more expensive than normal. So for two copper pieces, you're able to get the mug of ale or mead, and you find a table kind of in the next room. It's set up into kind of two basic rooms off the hallway, and there are several long tables in the second room. So you're able to find kind of a quieter corner with a table and sit down and kind of observe everything with your back to a wall so nobody can really get behind you. As you look around, the bar is fairly crowded, considering the size of the town. There's about as many patrons here in the inn as there are people inhabiting this location. So there's 10 or 12 other people within the room, including Frederick.
Okay. I think he's trying to look around for anybody that looks of a seafaring nature that might be willing to barter for passage on their boat, the Elemental Isles. Could I make a perception check?
Yeah, go ahead. And actually give me an insight check to see who seems to be legit as opposed to, pirate or whatnot.
Okay. Do you want me to roll both or just one?
You'd be able to tell just commonly who would be seafaring, so you don't need to do the perception. Just insight to see who's the more savory.
Sounds good. That is a 3.
Okay. There are 3 tables that are occupied with individuals that smell of the sea, that look like they're more of the seafaring individual, and you can't really decide which would be your best choice. So you kind of approach the first one. This gentleman is a very gangly individual, long limbs. You don't think he's whole human, half human of some variety, and he has really long, stringy hair. Long, black, stringy hair that goes down to about the middle of his back. And he's sitting at a bar, and he's kind of leaning over his ale, and he's looking very introspective about himself. You approach him, and as you get within about 12 feet of his chair, you see that he pulls out a strange-looking cylindrical device with a wooden handle on the end of it. You may have seen them before, firearms, but you wouldn't be super familiar with them. But he kind of slides it out your direction and says, "That'll be all the closer you need to get."
What's the matter? Are you scared?
I'm not scared, I just don't like people getting too close. Once they get within range to start swinging, you've got trouble. What do you need?
I simply need passage to the Elemental Isles.
I could probably find somebody that would be willing to take you. You look like you're of adequate size and stature to be able to help us out on the boat, so I don't think we'll be charging you much unless you're not willing to put your back into this trip.
Well, hard work, something I'm not used to.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. Now, before we let you onto the ship, you'll have to help us load her up. You see, there's a whole bunch of crates on the dock there that are just waiting to be loaded into the boat, but because you're the new guy, I'm gonna go ahead and let you load them by yourself. You gotta earn your keep before you're able to join us. So why don't you come back tonight, let's say about 3 a.m., and just throw those casks and boxes up onto the ship there, and we'll be taking off at first sun at 5 o'clock. So what do you say? Go ahead and roll me an insight check.
Okay. That's another 3.
Another 3. You don't exactly think he's probably the most fair individual in the world, but, you're earning your wage. What are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to kind of just stare at him for a second, and I'm going to pick up a bowl of peanuts from the bar, pour out the peanuts, and take a bite out of the bowl and chew it up.
All right, go ahead and roll me an intimidation check with that.
Nat 20.
Okay. He's like, all right. Okay, fine. You just, we won't make you load the boxes. That's fine. Just show up at 5. You'll help us on the sea. Once we set sail. That's fine. Just don't
Don't do that on the boat. What we've got is all we've got. Don't eat the stuff.
Listen, I don't mind earning my way, but telling me to show up in the middle of the night and do all the work myself, I'm willing to pay for passage. That's fine. But I feel like you're kind of trying to take advantage of me here, and I'm not interested.
You see him scratch the back of his neck, and he kind of looks up at you and kind of looks down. He's like, just like I said, just show up in the morning. You can do your share of work there. Just don't mention the boxes and the barrels to anybody else, okay? You don't mention them. We'll call it even until we set sail. Once we set sail, I'll put you to work doing something like any other sailor would.
Okay, I extend my hand to shake it.
All right, he kind of looks down at the size of your hand, and you see he's kind of like not going to clench your hand, but he's like getting ready for you to like squish his hand into goo as he like gingerly reaches it out.
I give him a very intense look, and then just shake his hand.
Okay, you can see the 1 or 2 drops of sweat fall off of his brow as you shake, and then you let go, and he looks at his hand, surprised that it's even still attached.
I'll see you in the morning, friend.
All right, you're able to work out a deal with the bartender. If you carry in some cords of wood for the hearth and whatnot, he'll give you a room for 2 silver pieces a night, which you see is like not even a quarter of what it normally costs to stay here. This is a very, well-priced establishment. But you're able to negotiate that price, and so after spending an hour and a half or so carrying in wood and getting, helping get stuff organized, you're able to secure lodging for the night. I'm going to go ahead and say that it's about 7 or 8 in the evening, so you could still spend some time down in the bar or wander around town before calling it a night. What would you like to do?
I think he just finishes drink and goes up to his room.
All right. You head up to your room. It isn't the nicest room in the house, but this is an actual feather mattress. The furniture here is of actual, handcrafted nature. It isn't just kind of ramshackle thrown together. This is like, carved wood. There's a real silver-plated mirror. I mean, this is a very nice establishment compared to a lot of the places that you would expect to find around here. So after you get up to your room and inspect it, make sure everything's good to go, are you going to go ahead and just call it a night?
Yeah, he walks into his room and kind of looks around for a second, goes over to the bed, sits down on it, tries to testing it out a little bit. It's just way too soft for him. He's used to the wilderness, and so he just takes the blanket, curls up on the floor.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, as you sit down on the bed, you kind of lay down, seeing if you can get comfortable, and due to your height, the end of the bed hits about the lower calf, about your lower calf or so. So, yeah, you're probably better off sleeping on the floor.
I am 7'8", so...
Yeah, that would do it. All right, so you're able then to kind of curl up on the floor. Go ahead and roll me a d6 as you slowly drift off into sleep.
That's a 6.
A 6. All right, as you drift off into sleep, you hear in your voice that same, voice that you hear from the crystal that you got. It's calling to you in your head. It is saying, "Souls, I need souls. Souls, get them for me." And as you startle awake, you are actually standing right at the door to your room, having your hand on the door handle, getting ready to open it. There is, sweat on your brow, and your face feels flushed. You see, as you look down at your hands, every single vein is absolutely just popped, and you've almost, you unclench your fists, and you see where your fingernails almost cut your palms. You have them clenched so tightly, and you're standing right in front of your door of your room, like you were getting ready to charge out of it. And this would be maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours after you fell asleep. Like, you can still hear people in the common room downstairs, talking and chatting and laughing and stuff. So it's not yet time for people to completely pass out. But you wake up with that that bloodlust about you. All right, are you just going to turn back in for the night and hope nothing happens?
Yeah, I think that's what he would do.
All right, you then turn in for the night, and the rest of the night passes fairly uneventfully. You wake up a little bit sore still in your arms and hands from when you were clenching your fists so tightly, but you are able to wake up without a problem. You head down to the common room. There is all sorts of strange breakfast things there that you aren't used to, but you are able to find a thick slab of bacon and whatnot, as well as some hardtack type bread that you are able to take advantage of before leaving. Is there anything else you would like to do before departing Roseboro? It would be about an hour or so before you would have to hop on the ship.
I think he's just going to go straight to the ship.
All right. You make your way down to the docks, and you notice that you find the same gangly, stringy-haired looking individual standing on a ship. It definitely is not a well-kept ship. This has been probably on the verge of sinking simply from deterioration for years. But you see him standing on that ship, and the barrels and crates that he was talking about appear to be being loaded on the ship next door to his. He kind of looks at you and looks down at the crates being loaded on the other boat, and just kind of turns his head and walks down into the under part, into the cabin, out of sight of you and the deck.
Okay, well, I think, he's fairly confused by this, but not knowing any better, I think he just starts helping load the crates to the other ship.
Okay, yeah, you pick up a box and start carrying it, and you see the other people about ready to protest, but since they're all, 6 foot max, they don't say anything and let you, put one crate under each arm, and carry them up the gangplank as they're, one at a time, or, team lifting to get some of the other ones. So after about 20-30 minutes of this, you've made a couple of new friends and intimidated plenty of other sailors before heading on to your appropriate ship. Go ahead, you're going to get a point of inspiration for that, so go ahead and just mark that on the sheet, because that's awesome. All right. So you get back onto the ship, and you see that they're all kind of laughing at you for, helping out the other crew, and you notice, go ahead and actually roll me an insight check as you get onto the deck of the ship.
Well, that's a 4.
A 4? Oh my goodness.
He's not insightful.
No, not at all. So you are able to tell that the people around you seem to be, we'll call them down on their luck. They are not what you would call... If you were to walk through the streets of a town, you would picture these people as being the kind of folks that have been thrown in jail or spent more nights in jail than they have at home. They're a rough-looking crew. So you're starting to get kind of a not great feeling about them, but you're not able to, really place anything else about them. Just that you're getting kind of a on the wrong side of lawful feeling about them.
Okay. He's just, for the most part, trying to mind his own business, but if anybody comes up and starts something, well...
Yeah. So you begin kind of looking around. You end up finding the captain. He introduces himself as, because I never named him, let's see, we will call him Mannix. Mannix is his name. And he says that, so since you're here, go ahead and you look big enough. We'll put you on the ropes here, and, when we tell you to pull, just pull. You don't have to think, just do. You'll be fine. Just put your back into it, but I swear to... let's see, I haven't named the god of the sea, have I? So, we'll just go ahead and call it Poseidon for right now. I swear to Poseidon, I will throw you overboard if you break one of these ropes.
So, tell me what to do with loading your cargo, he's quotation, to the other ship.
Don't worry about it. It looks like you've got more brains in your arms than you do in your head, so we'll go ahead and just, don't worry about it. He bought it from me very last minute, and I'm like, you drive a hard bargain, but since my help isn't wanting to lift these boxes, you can have it at a really good price. Go ahead and roll me another insight check with that.
Except for the insight.
7. Okay. So you're pretty sure that he's not being 100% truthful, but you can't pick out what parts. You've got a pretty good idea just by common sense, but you don't know how much of that is necessarily true. But you see they start throwing ropes off the dock onto the ship and unfurling the sails, and they begin setting out from Roseboro towards the Elemental Islands. You would know that this would not be a short journey by any means. We're talking more than a month or two at sea, depending on weather. So we will go ahead and very travel montage wrap this up fairly quickly. So for the first week, we're going to go ahead and say that with the weather and how far you are actually traveling, because you have to go around the Mana Storm and all this other kind of stuff, we're going to say that it is going to take 7 weeks to get to the Elemental Islands and to Port City. So what would you like to try and accomplish in week 1? You're still fairly new to your powers. The individuals on this ship are not exactly the most lawful individuals in the world, but, you might find one or two that aren't bad apples. And there's the whole ship to explore, as well as sea life and all sorts of other strange things to see.
Well, I think that the only time he's ever used his powers just kind of came about. He didn't have any control over it. So I think he's going to try and just stand along the rail of the ship facing out toward sea and just try and figure out how to cast spells.
Okay. So what spells would you attempt to cast?
Well, in classic Warlock fashion, that's going to be an Eldritch Blast.
Is there another spell that Warlocks cast?
Well, I've got a few.
Okay, you, as other sailors are just kind of throwing random bits of debris and stuff off the ship, you try to line up. And what is your focus item? Is it the crystal itself, or I think you mentioned a sword?
The crystal actually morphed into a sword, but essentially the focus is the crystal.
Okay, and would this crystal be set in the pommel, in the hilt, or would the sword be all made of crystal, kind of as if it stretched out?
It's in the hilt, right in the center between the crossbow.
All right. You begin focusing and channeling all of your energy and mental acuity into this this crystal in the center of it. And as you are pushing your thoughts and your power through your arm and into it, you feel that bloodlust to begin to take over. You feel that just rage, that mindless wanting to hurt, and you pull back on that, not wanting to lose control. But you swing your sword out, kind of pointing at one of the, we'll call it bits of moldy bread that one of the sailors is throwing off the side. You point at that chunk of bread, and a blast of energy rockets out from this weapon and strikes it, disintegrating that piece of bread. The sailor looks down at you extremely confused, but he's appreciative and kind of nods at you and tries to make a game out of it with you. So go ahead and would you take part in this game?
Oh, yeah. I think he's digging this. Just the fact that he actually, consciously cast this, I think he's going to want to keep doing it. This is kind of fun for him.
All right, go ahead and roll a spell attack roll.
Okay. 19.
19, all right. As he throws these chunks of bread off, you are just bam, 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 striking each one of them without a problem. You end up getting a bit of camaraderie there, and eventually you get bets going around of other sailors that are trying to see what you're doing and taking bets on how many hits you'll be able to make in a row. Go ahead and roll me a d10.
That's a 9.
A 9. You got 9 silver pieces as your share of the pool for knocking those bits of bread out of the air. And then, so you knock all those 9 bits of bread out of the air. The sailors clap and whatnot. You're pretty exhausted at this point, having, that being the most amount of magic you've ever used at once. And it kind of breaks up as the stringy-haired captain comes up and yells at everybody for slacking off, and you got to be ready. You never know what's going to be on the horizon. And everybody gets back to work, and everything kind of breaks up. Other than that, the first week you learn a lot about sailing, simply from having to be on the ship and everything. So go ahead and roll me an intelligence check.
Okay. You may not believe this, but intelligence, not for a strong point.
No way.
No, it's 11.
11. You went ahead and you are going to get 3 days of proficiency training in water vehicles, simply from stuff that you have picked up. So somewhere on your sheet, mark down water vehicles, or vehicles, water, 3 days of training. So then second week rolls around, and the weather isn't nearly as nice. There are quite a few storms. There are quite a few, either the wind is either blowing too strong in one direction, and they have to roll up the sails in order to keep the sails from, pulling the masts down and all of that kind of stuff, or it's completely dead. Nothing. So it's been a very crazy week this week. What would you like to try? What would you like to try and accomplish this week?
I think for this week, what he's going to want to do is probably just try and get to know some of the crew members as he's working and whatnot.
Okay. Would you be talking to them mostly while working, or would you be talking to them on their leisure time more?
Probably during work.
Okay, and would you be talking to the ones that seem to be working the hardest, or ones that are doing a specific duty, or how would you determine who you talk to?
Definitely the ones that are working.
All right. You see an Aquian elf. So you see an elf, but rather than the typical long, pointed fantasy ears, these look more like gills, almost like fins almost, for ears. And you see that this individual appears to be a ship's mage of some variety. So as opposed to somebody that is big and burly and salty and has a parrot and a pointed hat, an eye patch, this individual wears more soft leathers, maybe a cloak or a robe over it, and appears to be mostly dealing with divination and navigation, consulting not only the stars but also strange scrying type things. And they appear to always be doing something. While a lot of the other sailors, after an hour or so, when the captain gets bored of watching them and disappears into the cabin, they start to slack off. They play dice, they play other card games, or, fight, or, just horse around. This ship's mage appears to always be doing something. So when would you approach him?
Well, I would probably approach him when he's going between one thing and another, like those few seconds of downtime.
Okay.
I'm not trying to interrupt what he's doing, more like trying to approach and help with whatever he's doing.
Okay, yeah, you notice that he carries around a very large, not a bowl necessarily, but think like an outdoor fire pit. A very large brazier almost that he collects salt water in and casts his scrying spells. And normally he has 2 or 3 other guys end up helping him with that, but you see that they're slacking off and he's not able to get their attention. So he's trying to drag this large brazier back inside after completing whatever ritual he was doing. You see him struggling with it, and you go over and help him kind of lift it and carry it inside. After you do that, he says, "Oh, well, thank you very, very much. I don't think I've had a chance to meet you. My name is Linwood. My name is Linwood. What is yours?"
Core.
Oh, it's wonderful to meet you, Core. What brings you out here?
I passage on this vessel to the Elemental Isles. in search of knowledge regarding the magic item.
Oh, well, that's very interesting. You can see his shoulders like slump a little bit, almost in relaxation. He was a little bit worried, you think, that you might have been like a bandit or a thug like most of the other crew. So you see he visibly relaxes when you say you're actually there for a lawful reason, for lack of a better term. And he says, so, why are you headed to the Elemental Islands? I myself have been to Port City many times. The Central Mages Guild is located there, and it is a fantastically large town.
Just a quick side note here, Bob. Core does know the languages of primordial speak. You said this was an Aquian elf. Does he speak the Aquian primordial language?
Yes, he would.
Okay. And then Core's kind of gonna, like, look over both the shoulders, make sure, like, nobody is directly within earshot, but he's going to reach into his pocket and pull out the crystal and say in Aquian, this crystal has given me great power. It's more of a curse. I wish to be rid of it. Seek knowledge and destroy it.
Okay, you see his eyes get huge when you say that, and he definitely looks around as well, and he says, shh, no more here. Come below deck and, come up above deck and meet me out here at night when the rest of the crew is asleep, and we'll talk more about this. Don't bring up bad luck or evil items or anything like that. These sailors are extremely superstitious. And if that kind of thing was brought aboard, they'll toss you overboard. I'm not even joking about that. That will happen. So, meet me here tonight after everybody goes out, and I'll inspect the crystal, and I'll see what I can do to help you. But just note, I'm not exactly what you'd call a mage. I just do water really, really well.
Okay. He puts the crystal back in his pocket and then slaps him on the back just a little too hard, but he doesn't come straight.
Okay. He has to take, like, not just one step forward to catch his balance, but like 2 or 3 steps forward to catch his balance. And
I'm so sorry. I appreciate it.
Yeah, he just shakes his head. He's like, no problem at all. It happens all the time. And he kind of departs then. Looking around, very conspicuously. You can tell that this guy is definitely not, a stealth-oriented individual. He's craning everywhere to make sure that nobody heard that conversation as he retreats down below deck. So then do you just kind of spend the rest of the day ho-humming around waiting for nightfall?
Yeah, doing, normal ship duties, swabbing the poop deck.
It's a crappy job, but somebody's got to do it.
Right.
Okay, so you wait for evening to hit, and once night falls and the sea is calm, everybody kind of goes below deck, other than those that absolutely have to be on top. And you see that the ship mage is already waiting for you when you come up from below deck, and you see him kind of wave you over. He has in his hand a wand of some variety, or at least what you suspect to be a wand. It's a length of some sort of metal, not black, but very dark colored, and appears to have some sort of quartz-looking clear crystal on the top of it.
Okay.
You approach him, and he says, all right, we'll make this quick. And he's speaking in Aquian, so only you two can hear, or understand. All right, so, we'll make this quick. Just hold the crystal. I don't dare touch it, not knowing what magic resides within it. But I will cast an identify spell on it, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. He reaches into his pocket, pulls the crystal out, holds it outstretched in the palm of his hand.
He casts the spell upon it, and all of a sudden, a strange flash of light erupts, and you get that bloodlust throbbing in your head, like you just want to break. And the mage lets out a bit of a shriek and jumps back. After that happens, it's just a flash, and everything goes back to normal. He's looking around, spinning almost in circles, trying to make sure nobody saw that. And other than some comment from a drunken sailor on the deck itself that's still kind of stumbling around, they basically just shout, "Oh, the mage is up to maging again." It just, completely trashed at this point. He just kind of waddles off, and the mage leans in and he says, "I'm not going to do that again. But just so you know, I don't even know what is linked to this crystal, just that it appears to be some sort of conduit. It is channeling magic into you. But I don't know who it's connected to, how it functions, even all of its abilities other than to take the forms of these different weapons. That's all I can tell you. But if you go to the Mages Guild in Port City, there are wizards there that are as old as the islands themselves. They surely would know something about it."
Can they tell me how to destroy it?
I honestly don't know. I can't even tell you what the crystal is actually made of, what kind of crystal it is. It appears to be protected by something that's much more powerful than I could ever hope to be.
Thank you. I won't bother to appreciate your help.
Oh, not a problem at all. I'll let you know if I need help carrying the brazier again. But good luck. I hope you're able to figure out what you need to. Nobody should be shackled by spirits of whatever that is.
Cor looks at him and just kind of, nods slowly, and turns and walks away a few steps, pulls the crystal back out of his pocket, looks at it, and just like with a deep sigh, closes his fist, puts it back in his pocket, goes back to his monk.
Yeah, as you pulled it out and looked into it, you got that very anime or video game, that whole pulse in your head, that thump, and that feeling of bloodlust, but it very quickly dissipated.
Okay.
All right, so then we are on to week 3. Week 3 ends up being a lot more interesting than you would first expect it. You would know that just from talking from the other crew members that ship traffic between the Elemental Islands and the mainland, quote-unquote, is not a very common thing. You would know that most of the ships that come and go are very large. Think villages that you have seen would fit 2 or 3 of them on some of these ships. Just very large commercial barges in a medieval time, for lack of a better term. So you hear the crew mumbling about something that they saw on the horizon. And after some investigating, you're able to find out that they have seen on the horizon one of these very large barges. And you're getting a little bit worried at their expressions and at the captain's all of a sudden excitement as your ship begins setting course for this large barge.
He goes to the nearest crew member and says, "Hey, what's going on?"
The crew member responds with, "Well, you see, we don't actually get paid by the captain up there. He's too much of a cheap ass for that. We have to earn our wages, if you know what I mean. And this barge has got enough to make us rich men for life. The only catch is we've got to get it before somebody else does."
What do you get it?
Well, you see, you never know what's on these things. It could be wagons, it could be food, it could be swords, it could be mages and all of their magical things. You never know. We jump on board, we grab what we can, we get back, and we set off.
You're talking about stealing.
More like acquiring. Stealing is a harsh word.
I don't like this. Where's the captain?
Oh, the captain? He's the one sharpening blades now. He'll be the first on board. He gets the first pick of everything.
Cor immediately turns around and leaves to go find the captain.
All right. True to his word, or true to the crew member's word, you see him up kind of on the bow, and he is not necessarily sharpening his blades, but more like running a cloth over them. You can tell that they are very well used, lots of nicks, lots of not cracks, but, you can tell that these blades are not new blades by any means, and he's kind of wiping them off with a rag that he has found somewhere, and he's got the biggest grin that you have ever seen on his face, and it is a disgusting-looking grin full of lust and greed.
He walked up to him and, not very nicely, asked, "What the hell is going on?"
Oh, well, you see, now that we're here in the ship and there's not a whole lot you can do about it, we aren't exactly your typical passenger vessel. We are a special kind of merchant ship where we set off without merchandise, and when we get to port, we have merchandise. We just have to acquire it along the way. So, here's what we're going to do. You can either help and earn your wages, and you'll get a fair cut of whatever you bring back, or we can lock you up below, and hopefully you won't end up swimming.
I already paid my way, Captain. We are not stealing from that barge.
Okay, we is a very suggestive term because we indicates that there's more than one of you. But see, everybody else on the ship knows what we're doing. Well, almost everybody. There's a couple of goodies that aren't going to take part, but they've got their own uses. So, I like you. You're a big guy. You've been able to help us out. I won't throw you overboard for challenging me. Just stay out of the way and you don't have to take part. That's all you have to do.
Core at this point is kind of like looking around at the other crew members. He hasn't been speaking softly. Is anybody noticing the conversation?
Oh yeah, a lot of people are taking note and a lot of them are looking at you, but you can tell that this isn't a new thing. They've obviously dealt with a lot of quote-unquote new crew that is on the lawful side of lawful. So they're not surprised by this conversation, but you do see a couple of them looking to some chains on the side of the ship, kind of hung up and looking at you and starting to try and figure out how many people it will take to chain you up and drag you below.
I've got a better idea. Why don't we let them go? And I will crush your throat right here.
Well, you see, that's the kind of thing I like to call a threat. And you hear him all of a sudden shout, "I don't take threats kindly, boy!" And you go ahead and make me a dexterity saving throw.
D20, don't fail me now. That's a 17.
A 17. You are able to just jump back out of the way. This dart comes flying at you from somewhere else on the deck. And you can tell just by the feathers on it when it sticks into the mast right next to you that it is definitely a poison dart of some variety. Looking around, you see the captain not only has 2 blades out, but you see 8 or 9 other individuals, all with blades. And you also see several individuals with what appears to be crossbows or blowguns, all trained upon you. The captain says, "All right, now here's what we're going to do. You're either going to take your medicine and go below deck unwillingly, or you can walk down there yourself. What's it going to be?"
I take the dart that's stuck in the wood, and I jam it into my neck.
Okay. All of a sudden...
But it has no effect because I'm immune to poison.
Ooh, you're totally immune.
I make it intimidation.
Okay. And are you actually totally immune?
Yeah.
Wow, that is fantastic. All right, go ahead and do the intimidation check.
Intimidation. That is 23.
23. You see the captain is definitely, he's not even afraid. He is so shocked at what happened. There's just this, blank look on his face. You see of the, let's call them 14 or 15 people that are now up on deck looking at you, about 6 or 7 of them are all super oh no. Yeah. But the rest of them do still think they have a shot at taking you. So there's currently about 6 or 7 individuals that all look like they're about ready to jump you. And all of a sudden you see your friend Linwood come running up from below deck. And he shouts at everybody, calm down, let the mage handle this." and you can see that he's obviously got some sort of strange spell about him, because even though there's no wind, like, his robes are billowing about him. And he points at you, and you hear the strange string of mumbo-jumbo, and then all of a sudden, in Aquian in the middle, you hear, "Lay down and pretend to fall asleep," and then a giant string of mumbo-jumbo again, as sparks start flying from his hands.
Hand on head, Core was, like, totally ready to throw down, too. But I think he's smart enough to know that him versus 7 or 8 people is probably not going to go in his favor, so he'll play along for now.
Okay, you fall to the ground with a thump?
Yeah, but it's more like he dramatically just, like, lays down consciously rather than, passes out. Not quite sure what to do.
Okay.
You got me.
Okay. You see that several of the other crews start looking around at this mage, and you hear one of them bump the other one in the side and be like, "Holy crap, I didn't think you could actually do anything. We're going to have to stop messing with him so much." And the mage, Linwood, kind of puts his hand on his hips and says, "I have brought down this foe. Don't worry, I shall secure him now." And all of a sudden you feel a disc. All of a sudden, or you start to raise up as this invisible disc picks you up and begins following Linwood down below deck. And you end up going kind of far back to where all the cargo would be held, and he starts knocking on walls. And all of a sudden you hear a hollow knock, and he kind of pushes one of the boards in, and it opens up, and a little smuggling compartment opens. He has the disc float in there and then follows you in and shuts it behind him. He whispers to you in Aquian, "Okay, I know that this isn't exactly the best situation, but I couldn't let you just die out there. So I am actually here to prevent these guys from attacking anybody else. The Mages Guild sent me to infiltrate this ship and figure out who has been attacking merchants along this way. So I think we can warn the merchant vessel, but you have to play along."
Yeah, between the two of us, we could take them all.
No, actually I can't. That was my last spell slot. So I'm out for the next 24 hours, and we'll be at the ship in like 3 hours.
So, sorry, I really knew this was a spell slot.
I mean, my magic is almost drained. I seriously need a nap or something before I'm going to be able to do anything again.
I hate magic. Fine.
Okay, so my plan is there's a rowboat that they have attached to the back in one of these smuggling compartments that kind of falls out of some boards that look like they're going to fall off on the outside. It's an emergency escape for the captain. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait until we're really close to the ship, and then I'm going to set up some sparks, because that's all I can do is just harmless sparks. I'm going to pretend to put the entire vessel next door to sleep, but I'm going to tell everybody it's going to take 10 minutes to do. What I need you to do is go out through this rowboat, get on the ship, and warn everybody before the 10 minutes is up and they climb on board, okay? Do you think you can do that for me?
Yeah, but then we still get to kill the captain, right? Sort of.
I'll get back to you on that, but if he happens to stumble and fall on your sword, I'm not going to be crying about it.
I like you, little mage man.
Just don't tell anybody I said that. I'm supposed to do this non-violently. So, but you're right, he's a dick.
Warn the ship, don't tell anybody. Got it.
Yes, as soon as you hear me shout out, "Behold my power," launch from the smuggling compartment and get next door, okay? Get to the boat next door, go up to the cabin and warn them. It's a long run because of how big this vessel is, but I know you can make it there in time.
Okay, cool. 1, 2, 3, break, right? Is that how that goes?
Sure. We'll go with that.
Okay.
So just pretend to be asleep until you hear me shout. Then go.
Okay.
All right.
I'm just sleeping now.
Okay. He also hands you a red vial that you are able to identify, having seen them occasionally before, as a health potion. He slips you one of those and he says, "Just in case," and immediately leaves and says very loudly on the other side, "The prisoner is locked in here by magical means. Should anybody try to open this door, they will be electrocuted." Yeah.
And Cora, hearing this, makes the audible cliche snoring noise,
That's awesome. That is awesome. You hear just a snort from Lidwin on the other side, like he's trying not to laugh, and walks up to the top of the ship, or walks back up onto the deck. After about an hour and a half, roughly, to you, you all of a sudden hear a lot of commotion on the ship. You can tell that you're getting close to the other boat as the footfalls went from, just leisurely walking along to lots of running, to lots of shouting orders. And after about another 10 or 15 minutes, you hear Linwood's voice raise above all the rest and shout out, "Behold my power! This ship shall fall beneath the great and awesome power of Linwood the Mage!" And he said that very obviously louder than he possibly needed to. And through the little slits of wood and whatnot, you can see bright, colorful sparks occasionally flying up above. You are able to push on the backboards, and you find that there is, in fact, a rowboat right there, just like Linwood said. Would you jump in and head over across to the next boat?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, go ahead and roll me a stealth check real quick as you go across to the other boat.
Okay, well, let's see how this goes. Well, back to the single digits. That's another 3.
Another 3. As you get about halfway across, you hear a shout from the boat that you're approaching that goes, "They appear to be boarding!" And all of a sudden, 2 arrows come streaking towards you. I need 2 dexterity saving throws.
Okay. First one is a 4. The second one is an 11.
At 11, you kind of lean back, and as you lean back, the arrow flies by you, but the boat begins to rock almost uncontrollably and nearly throws you. The second arrow thunks into the boat in front of you, but you are able to keep your balance enough to bump into the boat on the other side. It is very ungraceful, and you partially fall out of the boat, getting about from your waist down wet. In the water as you grab hold of the side of the other ship, and you manage to pull yourself up onto the boat. You see on the other side that there are now 6 people, all with long swords pointed towards you, and they appear to be ready to run you through should you make any threatening gestures.
Well, give me 1 second here. I'm going to cast a cantrip called Friends.
And actually, Friends doesn't work on targets that are already hostile.
Oh, bummer, because I had a really good dude for that. Okay, I'll just rely on my persuasion skill, which isn't bad. He's just gonna show up, see all the longsword pointed at him, just say, "Look, they're trying to board you. They're gonna take everything you have. I'm here to get you all off the boat.
Okay.
Come with me if you want to live."
Would you reference Linwood, or that he was sent to stop this or anything like that, or would you just say, "Trust me"?
The elven mage man, he's my friend. God, what was his name? Linwood. He told me to come help you.
All right, go ahead then and roll the persuasion check with advantage because you referenced his name.
Non-nat 20.
Oh, wow. Okay, they all kind of lower their swords a little bit. They're definitely wary of you because, let's be honest, you're like at least half a torso, not a head taller. You're like half a torso haul.
Yeah, I look like somebody that's going to rob.
Exactly. So they are definitely a little bit worried at the sight of you, but they believe you, and two of them following behind you, the rest leading in front and to the side. They take you up to where the captain is, and do you repeat the same story to the captain?
Yep.
All right. He definitely shakes his head, and he's like, "Oh, Lord. Well, hopefully this will end up being better than what I had hoped. Half of my crew has fallen ill to some sort of strange disease. I don't know what has taken them, but we are much understaffed compared to what we were when we left when we left Port City almost 3 weeks ago. So I do not know what we will be able to do. I tell you what, you're a fit-looking individual, and this captain is like 5'6", maybe. So him calling you a fit individual, yeah. But he says, there's some coin in it and a recommendation to any one of the guilds if you assist us with this. I would ask for no bloodshed, but I'm not going to be too disappointed if it ends up happening.
Well, as far as the bloodshed is concerned, I don't know if I can help you there, but if you promise me entrance into the Mages Guild, I will help.
I can't promise you entrance, but I will give you a recommendation that, especially since you're working with Linwood would be able to get you in almost with a guarantee. But I would be willing to write a letter of introduction and recommendation to any of the guilds that you wished. If you would assist us in repelling these borders.
What's a recommendation? Recommendation? What would it?
I'll make sure that people know you did a good job.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I'll totally help.
Oh, okay, good. It appears that they will be boarding within the next, let's see, we'll go with, within the next 15 to 20 minutes. I'm worried for your mage friend. Once they find out that the spell hasn't worked, I'm afraid they might take out their anger on him.
Don't worry about him. I can help. I have magic powers.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Well, then, we'll let you take up a position wherever you want, and as soon as they begin boarding, just repel them with any force necessary.
Cool. This sounds fun. Let's go.
All right. So then you have about 10 or 15 minutes to strategize. Your options are you can either wait smack dab in the middle of the deck where they're going to start boarding from and take the greatest numbers, but probably not the strongest opponents. You can try to jump back onto their boat and take them that way while trying to protect Lynn. You would face tougher opponents, but not as many. Or you can guard the captain himself of the crew. The captain would probably be the primary target of some of their assassins, but not necessarily the strongest or the most number. But they most likely would have some pretty devious tactics. What would you like to do?
On the one hand, protect Lynn. On the other hand, escape the captain.
Well, the captain, whatever job you decide to take, he will move men to cover the other ones. He just doesn't have enough people to cover all three zones.
Okay, so, if I just go, blaze a path back to the other ship to help Lynn, who is probably more important then he'll have people watching his back.
Correct, yeah. He just doesn't have enough forces to evenly distribute them across the entire ship.
I'm going to look at the captain, and I'm going to say, gather your best men, keep them close. I'm taking the fight with these pirate bastards.
You see him pull out a very antique saber, one that probably has not actually seen the bite of flesh in more than 3 decades. And he says, "Hurrah!" as he raises it in the air.
Yeah, hurrah. I'll see you later.
All right. As you begin to take your position, you are right on the edge of the deck. There's a large stack of crates right obviously on the end. that serve as a fantastic hiding spot. You can tell that they will likely be throwing down boards and ropes to swing across right next to you, to where you are currently hiding. So would you just kind of hunker down and wait there until, people start flying across and then dive through?
Yeah, I think he's probably going to, hide his presence as much as he possibly can. Because if people start coming over and see me, then they're going to be like, oh my god, no. But, if I just, hunker down real quick and, try to catch them by surprise, I could probably get a few of them before they know what's going on.
All right. So you hunker down. You are able to find right where you're at about 3 hatchets that appear to be in a halfway busted barrel right there on the side. They appear to be throwing axes of some variety, sitting right behind you. If you want to, you would be welcome to try and throw those 3 throwing axes and try and cut people out of the sky. Either cut the ropes that they're swinging across or chuck them at some of the people that are coming towards you before you leap across. If you do that, you would lose the element of surprise on the ship itself, but you would take out 3 of the enemies before they get a chance to, or potentially 3 of the enemies before they get a chance to board the ship. Or you can wait until all of the enemies are on the ship and then charge onto the enemy boat without drawing any attention to yourself. Which would you prefer?
You know what? I'm going to go for the captain on the evil ship. I'm not trying to draw attention to myself. Cut the head off the snake and the body died. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to get back over undetected at this point.
All right. You wait about 10 minutes or so, and, 5 minutes or so now, I guess, at this point. And you see that people start swinging across, boards go down, yelling and screaming happenings as all of these people, you count about 10 individuals, rush across onto this very large barge. You see that about half of them are attacking the other crew, and about half of them are carrying boxes and whatnot back to the other ship. And all of a sudden, you hear a shout coming from the captain of the vessel you used to be on. And he says, "Lynn, you traitorous bastard! You didn't put any of them to sleep! It's time that I put you to sleep!" And you hear Lynn shout, "No!" And what would you like to do?
I'm just gonna scream as loud as I can, giant.
Ooh.
And it's not gonna be he's not gonna understand me, but I'm just gonna scream whatever I want. It's not gonna be anything cool, he says, "I hate bullying," and it's just for dramatic effect, just to scare the guy.
Awesome. Yes, it's just like when you read something in German. No matter what it is, it sounds absolutely terrifying.
It always sounds angry. Why are they so bad?
Shout out to all of our German fans out there. We heart you very much. Okay, so you charge across the ship, bellowing this war cry. Go ahead and roll an intimidation check, and then we will roll initiative. So go ahead and give me that intimidation check first, and we'll see if any of them end up with disadvantage.
Okay, well that's going to be a 15.
A 15, all right. And there are 3 enemies that you see. 2 of them have succumbed, so we're going to go ahead and call them the minions. So the 2 minions have succumbed to your battle roar and now have disadvantage on their initiative roll. The captain, though, is too caught up in his rage and rolls initiative regularly. So go ahead and roll initiative.
I got a 15.
A 15. All right. The captain rolled a 19, so he will definitely go first. The minions rolled a 5. So the turn order will... Oh, and then Lynn. Lynn rolled an 8. So it will go the captain, you, Lynn, and then the minions. So we will go ahead then and get started. The captain is going to go ahead and then... let me pull up his attack here. There we go. The captain is going to go ahead and swing down his sword at Lynn. And...
No.
Actually, that would normally hit, but Lynn... Lynn used all of his spell slots. So, Lynn, unfortunately, takes that blade and deals to him 7 points of slashing damage. And Lynn goes down to 1 knee. He is not dead, but that definitely did not do him any favors. We then move on to you. You would be about 20 feet away from the captain, and there are 2 minions standing between you and the captain about 10 feet away.
Okay. Well, Core is just going to charge right towards the captain.
Okay.
Pulls his shield off of his back, and pulls the crystal out of his pocket, which turns into his black-hilted, silver-bladed bastard sword.
Awesome.
I think what he's going to do, he's going to cast Hexblade Curse on the captain.
Fantastic.
Which does, hold on, let's see, here it is. Hexblade Curse. It's a bonus action. I gain a bonus to damage rolls against the cursed target. Bonus equals my proficiency bonus. Any attack roll I make on the cursed target is a critical hit, 19 or 20. If the cursed target dies, I regain hit points equal to my warlock level plus my charisma modifier. So, I cast that on him, and I'm just gonna swing at him with that longsword.
Fantastic. Go ahead.
16?
16 would definitely hit.
Okay. And that's going to be 7 slashing damage on the captain.
All right. The captain definitely didn't enjoy that strike, but he isn't doing too bad. And as you passed by those 2 bandits that were between you and the captain, you would take 2 opportunity attacks.
Okay.
The first one is a 12 to hit.
Does not.
And the second one was a 2, so that definitely won't hit.
Yeah.
All right, so you charge past them. That roaring bellow is definitely enough to throw them off guard as you ran past. Lynn, it is now on then to Lynn's turn. Or was there anything else you were going to do on your turn?
Nope, that's my full turn.
All right, Lynn goes ahead and he stands up, and he kind of shaky on one foot. But you can see the relief in his eyes when he looks at you standing there, and he says, "Time to throw you back to the sea, you old bastard!" And he shoots a blast of blue energy at the captain. It will hit, I think, +4. Yep. So it hits the captain's AC. And this bolt of freezing energy strikes him, dealing 2 points of cold damage to him, and he does appear to be slowed a little bit as frost begins to freeze his clothing and stuff around him. We then move on to the minions. The 2 minions then are going to attack you from the back. So they will gain advantage on this attack because they have flanking. The first one will miss. Highest was a 12 again. Second will hit. That was naturally an 18, +3. So then the 1 bandit minion does to you 3 points of slashing damage with his scimitar as he strikes you across the back in one shallow cut.
Okay, 3 points. Okay.
We then move on to you again. Oh no, we then move back onto the captain, don't we? The captain lets out a roar of rage, and you see that the 2 minions behind him seem to be pumped up a little bit. They are definitely going to do a lot more damage this turn, whether from threats or from promise of reward. He has done something to motivate them. We then move on to you, Core.
Okay. And they're all like right on me, right?
Yes, you have 2 minions behind you, and then the captain is between you and Lynn.
How does Lynn look?
Lynn's looking not great, but he can probably take another hit like that from the captain. We'll call him about bloodied. He's definitely got a hell of a gash across his chest, but doesn't appear to be in any mortal danger yet.
Here. I'm just going to... You know what? It's Warlock time. I'm going to cast Eldritch Blast on the captain.
Okay, go ahead and describe how you cast this spell.
So, basically what happens is Core takes that hit,
and everybody's turning on him and stuff like that, and he raises his sword arm to bring it back down on the captain, but the crystal starts glowing, and instead of making an attack with the sword, it just glows, much like it did in my backstory, and just when he swings the sword, it just sends that bolt of energy right to it.
All right.
Well, that's a 12.
A 12, not quite enough, unfortunately. As you go to launch that energy, he smacks your hand away, or smacks the blade just enough out of the way that it rockets past him.
You got lucky.
Yes.
Would be.
We then move on to both bandits. Both bandits are definitely pumped up and swing down at you. First one won't hit with a 13, at least I don't think.
No.
Okay. Second one, that one will hit, I think, 15?
No.
15 won't hit, okay.
No.
Awesome. So you managed to get away, and you notice that they, whatever focus energy that they had slowly dissipates from them, and they kind of shrink down in size a little bit. So then we go on to... Oh, no, wait. It would have been Lynn next. So then Lynn goes ahead, and he's going to once again, he's just going to blast the captain. Actually, you know what? He's going to go ahead and drink a potion. He's like, "You've got this, Core!" And he pops a tube of red liquid and tosses it back. And he is back now up to full health. So he is good to go. And then the bandits go ahead and do their round like normal. So we then move on to the captain again, I believe. Yep, and the captain is going to go ahead and in a fury strike down at you recklessly. That will definitely hit with a 17 plus 4.
Yep.
And he deals to you... Wrong dice type. It's a D8, not a D10, not a D6. And does 8 points of slashing damage to you as he brings down that saber with a great arc.
Okay.
All right, we then move on to you, Core. The captain is definitely not looking good. The two bandits behind you haven't been touched yet, but they look like wimps.
Okay. So taking that hit, which was a fairly significant hit for Core, but also noticing that Lynn took that health potion, Core is just reeling back from that hit. He raises his sword in the ground and just jabs it into the deck of the ship. And he's casting Arms of Hadar.
Ooh.
You invoke the power of Hadar, the Dark Hunger. Tendrils of dark energy erupt from you and batter all creatures within 10 feet of you. Each creature in that area must make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, the target takes 2d6 necrotic damage and can't take reactions until its next turn. Successful save, they take half damage, suffers no other effects. Cast a spell at spell slot second or higher, the damage increases by a d6. So, if they fail, they take 3d6 damage and are restrained half as much on a success.
Fantastic. So then we'll start with both bandits. They have +0 to this. So that is a 9 and a 12.
Both fail.
And then the captain, he has a +2, so that is a 17.
Okay.
And Lynn... Lynn critted it. I don't know how the little bastard did it, but Lynn critted it.
Yeah, Lynn!
All right. So go ahead and do this damage.
Roll that damage, that beautiful beam footage. Here we go. So that's going to be 11 necrotic damage total, or half as much.
I kid you not. Both bandits have exactly 11 points of health. These tentacles grip around the necks of the bandits, and all of a sudden, in a simultaneous sickening crack, both of them fall to the ground with their necks at weird, odd angles. And you said half as much on the captain?
Yeah.
The captain is barely standing. There is not a closer to death that he could be. Lynn is also not doing great, but he's about where he was before he chugged the potion. But the captain is about as close to death as death can get. All right. The minions are now dead. Oh, but it is Lynn's turn. Lynn is going to say, "Oh, damn! I wish I had a little bit of warning with that. I'll go ahead and I'll finish this off." And he pulls from his belt a dagger. And this dagger doesn't appear to be as much of a blade as it does a needle. And he jabs it into the neck of the captain. Let's see if this hits. It does. So he is able to jab this into the neck of the captain, and the captain needs to give a Constitution saving throw. Oh, damn, he passes. So he starts to, droop. You see his eyes roll back into his head, and he starts to fall forward, but he slams his hand down in a roar and pushes himself back up. He still takes the dagger damage of 2 points, but is not down yet. The bastard yet lives, and it is on to his turn. He sweeps his blade across Lynn for trying to jab him in the neck, and strikes Lynn.
No.
Oh, shit. Lynn takes 11 points of slashing damage, and with a gurgle in his throat, he falls to the ground. We move on to you, Cor.
You killed my friend. Prepare to die.
And that's going to be 17.
17 hits. How do you end this?
So basically what happens, as this dude takes his sword and sweeps across Lynn, Core just grabs it by the back of his neck and turns to face him. And, like I said, you killed my friend. Prepare to die. And he raises his long sword up. And as this person is staring at him, eyes wide, mouth open, he just shoves the sword through the back of his throat.
Oh, God.
And then slashes.
Oh, man. The captain falls to the ground with a thud, and it is just gore fest. Would you like to very quickly search Lynn or try and stabilize him?
Yeah, immediately he just he looks at the captain for a second, kind of catching his breath, drops his sword, looks to Lynn, and it starts to just do whatever he can to stabilize him. He doesn't really know what he's doing, but he's trying everything.
All right, go ahead and give me a medicine check then.
No, that's a 2. No!
A 2. You aren't able to stabilize him. Lynn makes his first death saving throw and fails with a 2 as well. Do you want to search Lynn's body or try again with a medicine check?
I'm going to keep trying.
Try again.
Stay with me. Stay with me, Lynn. Don't give up on me, Lynn. That's a 12.
A 12. Oh, you stabilize him. You are able to, in a choking manner, you are able to put enough pressure on his throat region that the bleeding eventually stops and his breathing becomes shallower but steady. And eventually, a member of the crew from the other boat pours a health potion down his throat, having seen what happened, and is able to stabilize Lynn enough to drag him over to the other ship, and you guys are able to seek refuge there.
When Core sees his friendly other ship crewmate pour the health potion down Lynn's throat, he just kind of looks in his pocket, pulls out the health potion that Lynn gave him, and he's like, "Oh yeah."
That's fantastic. All right. Would you like to search the captain's body?
Yes, I want to search his body.
All right. You search the captain's body, and you don't see anything major of note. His scimitars, while, very personalized, for lack of a better term, don't appear to be worth anything or anything major like that. But you do...
Mundane, pretty much.
Yeah, they're nicked, they're chipped, and everything else. But you do manage to find on his hand there appears to be a ring. But this ring doesn't appear to be made of metal. It appears to be made of stone of some variety.
Okay. Well, that seems interesting. I'll take it. I'll just put it in my backpack.
All right. As you put the ring in your backpack, you kind of feel a tingle, almost as if there's some sort of magic about it. But being as you have other issues like Lynn barely hanging on alive, you don't really stop to inspect it. The other crew members of the ship that was attacked tell you that you're welcome to ride back with them. They basically came just to be intercepted by whatever vessel was attacking, and then were to immediately return to Port City. The ship that is they have taken as many prisoners as they can, killed the rest, and they will burn the ship after moving all the supplies over so that this pirate vessel can never again attack another merchant ship. Do you help them move boxes and that kind of stuff around and then set back on sail towards Port City?
Yeah, I'll help them with whatever they need.
All right, you kind of as a cool down from that workout, carry a couple of large crates and boxes around, help them shift things around, show them the smuggling compartments, and you guys are able to pick the vessel almost completely clean. Of the whole crew that was with you when you first left Roseboro, there were only 4 survivors that were chained up and thrown below deck, as well as Lynn survived, but he's obviously on the side of good along with you. And you guys are able to start making your way back towards Port City. The last thing you see as you head down that way before the ship turns is the bright flames and all sorts of strange multicolors from the different goods that were not able to be salvaged and the strange magics and other various things changing the color of the fire. You see this kind of aurora borealis of strange blues and greens and yellows shifting in the horizon as you set sail towards Port City. The next 2 weeks pass by very uneventfully. Lynn recovers, you're able to do some work and whatnot. Go ahead and roll me 2d6 and total them together.
That's a 7.
7. You gain 7 more days of training in water vehicles and navigation and use of water vehicles. So you're well on your way, about, I think it's 120 days to learn a new skill, I think. And you guys are in the last stretch of Port City. What would you like to do the last week before actually hitting Port City?
I'm going to go talk to Lynn.
All right, yeah, you've been able to talk to Lynn quite a bit. It took him more than a week for his throat to fully heal. He was cut straight across through the vocal cords, so he was able to whisper, but not, well enough to really be audible. So Lynn has recovered to the point where he's able to carry on normal conversation. What would you talk to him about?
Well, just basically, as he said, I've had chances to talk to him over these past few weeks, but I think this is the first time Core actually goes up and says, "Hey, thanks for helping, thanks for not, killing these people, and thanks for helping."
Yeah, he kind of blushes a little bit. He's like, "Oh, it's not a problem at all. I'm just glad there was somebody there to help me. I wouldn't have made it out of there alive if you hadn't have been there to help me out. So thank you in return, and I would be more than happy to repay the favor and introduce you to the Mages Guild if you wanted, and I'm sure the captain would write a recommendation for you. I think I remember hearing something about that. So we are grateful for your assistance as well."
Then, look, you don't tell me anything, my friend. I would have been just as dead without your help. Just grateful for you being in the right place at the right time, for me being in the right place at the right time, that we could put a stop to these damn pirates.
Oh, well, thank you very much. There's got to be something I can do to help you. Any strange magic items you may have picked up, or a potion you need brewed, or strange and forbidden knowledge that I could answer? There's got to be something I can do to help you out.
Well, actually, I did get this stone ring off of the pirate captain. I pull it out of my bag and I show it to him.
Oh, this appears to be something very strange indeed. Just give me just a moment, and he pulls out that rod again that you saw him use the last time, and he begins channeling his energy into it. You have the Ring of the Fist. You are proficient in unarmed strikes, and they do 1d6 of damage.
Is that bludgeoning, I'm assuming?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Cool.
All right. He says, "Oh, that could definitely come in handy if you ever end up without a weapon or or in the occasional tavern brawl, and he kind of elbows you, and you barely feel the elbow, as he's doing it.
I kind of laugh with like, and I give him the slap on the back that's once again just a little too hard.
Yeah, he falls forward, and you see him visibly wince, but he's like, no, it's okay, I'm used to it, it's fine.
Sorry. I'm so big.
He says, I can tell you were able to hit both shoulders with that one strike.
I suppose that's, Lynn, I'm not used to being around other people, not quite sure on the manners, but I'm glad to call you a friend.
Well, if you ever need to find me, come just look me up. I'll be somewhere near the docks or in the Mages Guild, and if I'm not either a place, they can take a message for me there. And as a matter of fact, here you go. And you see, he hands you a rolled-up scroll of parchment, and it appears to have some sort of wax symbol on it, and the wax symbol appears to be a bird, but this bird has a water droplet on the side of it. He says, this is my family seal. The Mages Guild will know it automatically. Just take it to them, and this will serve as your recommendation to get in. They'll give you shelter for the first week that you're there on my tab if you need it. If you decide to join, you're welcome to. If not, there are a bunch of other guilds there that are just as wonderful. I would suggest that you join one, but, you are your own person, and you can make your own decisions. But if you do end up joining the Mages Guild, look me up, and I would be more than happy to help you out again.
Thank you very much, my friend.
Anytime. And then, after you get done with that, you hear that they start calling that land is ahead, land aho! And you see, as you come up onto the deck, the two giant lighthouses that are Light's Grasp's lighthouses. And you begin pulling into the bay that leads up to Port City. As you get up onto the deck and you're taking in the sight of this sprawling metropolis, you are able to get your recommendation from the captain, and he once again kind of salutes you with his very worn saber and says, "Good luck, my friend. I wish you well." And you approach Port City on the 23rd of planting. So, is there anything else you'd like to do or say last minute before we wrap this up?
In game? No, I think that's...
All right. Thank you very, very much, Will. This was a blast, and I'm glad to have you on. It's been a ton of fun, and I love that we are finally able to get Arcanum teased. Even the tiny bit that we did tease it, we were able to get Arcanum kind of worked into here, and it can be a place that you can eventually come back to and hopefully be able to do something about your family situation.
Yeah, well, we'll see how the dice roll and how things play out. Even though the odds may not be in my favor, or is still just as determined.
Thank you for that. All right, we will go ahead and say goodbye here.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Chaos Plan. We really hope that you enjoyed it, and since we are doing group games now, we are going to very quickly start getting episodes out there on a regular basis. If you want to take part, please visit Patreon, donate, and you can get in on this guaranteed. We already have the next batch of players getting ready to go for the next game, and we're already looking at the different DMs that are going to be taking part. Both Braden and Mike have committed to doing games so far. So if you want to get in on that action, please just join our Patreon. Thank you, and we hope to see you next game.